What's up, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys day number 19 in my 6th annual 31 Days of Horror. This is a series in which we watch and review 31 horror films in 31 days, all during the month of October, leading right up to Halloween. Well, today, guys, we got some unfortunate news that famed Italian horror director Umberto Lenzi has passed away. Really such a shame. I believe he was in his 80s, most known for Cannibal Ferox amongst other films. It's very unfortunate that we keep losing these very important figures in the horror genre, these legends, if you will. But it just seems to be happening more and more lately as they get older. Very much a shame. Rest in peace to Umberto Lenzi, who is actually one of our directors that we are featuring in this year's Italian Horror Month on the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast. This is the 3rd year we're doing the Italian Horror Month, so all November long we will be doing directors' spotlights on Italian horror directors and reviewing 3 of their films each. So Umberto Lenzi is one of those directors, so look forward to that. Now, I've only seen one Umberto Lenzi film. It was the 7 Bloodstained Orchids, which I did like, is like a giallo. But I did figure, since, he passed away today, I would, watch one of his films. And I decided to go with, the only one I own besides the films we're covering for the director spotlight. I went with Ghosthouse, which I believe he actually directed this film under another name, like a pseudonym. It was like Humphrey something, but it is an Umberto Lenzi film. It's from the year 1988. It follows a group of people who get a weird kind of radio transmission from a nearby location. They track the radio transmission to a house where there is another group of people who are just kind of vacationing and decide to stop at this abandoned house. And they find out on the radio transmission that the group that is vacationing is actually the ones in the radio transmission screaming, yet they don't remember doing that. They pretty much didn't do that, so it's very eerie. Eventually, they begin to investigate the house to see what's going on there. We know that it's sort of haunted from the spirit of this little girl who we saw in the beginning of the film 20 years prior. Basically, that's kind of your story in this one. It's kind of a haunted house flick. This film is very all over the place. It is very good at times. It is very eerie. The atmosphere is great. The scares are there. It's creepy. There's some decent, gore moments and stuff like that. Not a ton, but there's a few here and there. And then you have just the ridiculousness of it. These characters are there and people are dying and they stay there. The police show up. The police don't make them leave. They don't own this house. They have nothing to do with this house. They're still in the house. They keep going back to the house. They leave the house, come back to the house. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of that. So it's very up and down. At one moment you're very creeped out. You enjoy the atmosphere, the music. There's this music with this child singing or child voice, and it's very unsettling. And then the next moment you got characters doing dumb things, going to wash their hands after they just seen a bunch of rats hanging from the ceiling or something, and then blood comes out of the sink. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense why these characters chose to do certain things, and it's very bad plot holes, which I think is typical of the Italian films that I've seen. Which I don't even know if this is considered Italian. I think that it's shot in America for sure, but Italian director, obviously. Now, it could have been a co-production, Italian U.S. co-production. But anyway, it's typical in these type of films to have these type of plot holes. Oh, another thing, I think the outside of the house is actually the house from House by the Cemetery as well. I think I heard that before, which is pretty cool. House by the Cemetery, obviously Lucio Fulci, the third in the Gates of Hell trilogy. But yeah, so this film has its moments. It's really creepy at times, very atmospheric, which probably is its biggest saving grace. like you almost can look past like a lot of the dumb moves just because, and this happens with a lot of Italian films, like the atmosphere and the setting and visuals are so nice and the sound is so good that like you just kind of want to accept it. Like you want to like it because you like all this stuff, so you kind of ignore the plot holes a little bit, which is what I found myself doing a lot of times, where I'd just be like, whatever. But yeah, so there's like a creepy clown thing that reminds you of the movie Poltergeist, and probably very influenced, like almost like a rip off of Poltergeist at times. But yeah, there's a few odd things that I maybe wouldn't have incorporated in the film or would have liked to see left out, but for the most part, it was still pretty solid. I'm gonna come in at a 7.5 out of 10 on this one. Not a bad movie at all. I got it in the Scream Factory double pack here with Witchery, which oddly enough, these films are actually known as La Casa films. So Evil Dead in I believe Spain was named La Casa. Evil Dead 2 was named La Casa 2, and then I believe Ghosthouse was La Casa 3, and Witchery was La Casa 4. And there was even, I think there was like 7 La Casa films, so I think the other ones were like, believe the House films actually became La Casa films, and I believe a couple other ones ended up La Casa. There's a very cool history with like films that were, in a franchise in another country, kind of, you know what I mean, unofficially. But yeah, so anyway, that is it, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another review. Thank you for watching. Rest in peace, Umberto Lenzi.